Okay, so you want to own a gym. Fill a large room with machines, sign up 2,500 people at $45 a month, and the membership desk appears to produce more than $1.3 million a year before anyone buys a training session. Most customers will not even arrive at the same time, which means you can sell access to the same treadmill again and again. It sounds like one of the cleanest subscription businesses in the world. That is the dream. The problem begins when the subscriptions are flexible, but almost everything you agreed to pay for is not. Members can cancel, a 10-year lease cannot. January enthusiasm can disappear by March, while the loan on the equipment, the electricity bill, the cleaning contract, and the manager's salary continue through every season. A gym is not really a room full of weights. It is a recurring revenue capacity business attached to a long-term real estate commitment. The owner sells access to a limited amount of space, equipment, coaching, and attention, then tries to sell that access to far more people than could physically use it at once. Profit comes from managing the gap between total membership and peak hour demand without making the club feel crowded, neglected, or easy to leave. That gap can be extremely valuable. It can also become a trap. Demand certainly exists. The Health and Fitness Association reported that a record 77 million Americans belong to a fitness facility in 2024, equal to roughly 1/4 of the population aged 6 and older. Including non-members who paid per visit or entered through other programs, the customer base approached 96 million. Yet the same association's 2025 benchmarking report placed median member retention among participating operators at 66.4%. A growing market does not remove the need to replace a meaningful share of customers. Before signing a lease, you have to decide which gym you are actually building. A small training studio may serve a few hundred clients who pay high prices for coaching. A 24-hour neighborhood club trades personal service for convenience and lower staffing. A budget gym needs thousands of members and enough floor space to absorb them. At the other extreme, an athletic country club may combine pools, courts, childcare, food recovery services, and medical-style wellness offerings under one expensive roof. These are not merely different sizes of the same business, they are different economic machines. The boutique studio sells attention. Its rent and equipment bill can be modest, but instructor quality and schedule utilization determine revenue. Lose two popular coaches, and the customers may follow them out the door. A low-price gym sells scale. Payroll per member can be lower, although the operator needs far more members to cover the building. Premium clubs sell an ecosystem, collecting more from each household while accepting enormous construction staffing and maintenance obligations. Choosing the wrong model for the neighborhood can ruin the project before opening day. A budget club placed where rent assumes premium pricing may never reach the required density. A luxury club in a price-sensitive market can look beautiful and remain half-empty. The spreadsheet starts with membership, but the first real decision is geography. There is no single federal license in the United States that simply authorizes someone to operate a normal gym. Instead, permission is assembled layer by layer. The Small Business Administration notes that licenses and permits vary with activity and location, while zoning is generally controlled locally. The site must allow the intended use. Building plans may need approval, construction must pass inspection, and the finished premises need fire clearance and a certificate of occupancy. Accessibility signage, parking, showers, and locker rooms can all affect the design. Extra services create extra gates. A pool brings health rules, water testing, lifeguarding questions, and far more mechanical complexity. Childcare, food service, massage, physical therapy, and indoor tanning may each trigger separate licensing, staffing, tax, or safety requirements. Music played in classes or across the club can require commercial rights. Insurance carriers may demand waivers, incident procedures, equipment inspections, security systems, and certified staff, even where the law does not require one. Universal training credential, opening under a franchise, adds another gatekeeper. The brand controls territory, design, approved equipment, technology, marketing, operating standards, and sometimes pricing boundaries. In return, the owner receives a recognized name and an operating system. Under the Federal Trade Commission's franchise rule, a prospective franchisee generally receives a disclosure document before signing or paying. That document matters because the attractive membership price on the website says nothing by itself about royalties required, remodeling equipment, replacement, advertising contributions, transfer restrictions, or the personal guarantees a lender and landlord may request. Now the cost begins to take shape. A compact owner-operated studio can sometimes open for a few $100,000 or less if the space needs little work and the equipment list is short. A serious full-service gym can require several million. Published franchise ranges show how wide the field is. Anytime Fitness currently presents an estimated initial investment of roughly $398,000 to $973,000 for its United States model. Crunch says its estimated range is approximately $668,000 to $3.488 million, excluding real estate costs, for locations commonly measuring 20,000 to 40,000 square feet. Neither range is a promise, and neither tells you what your city will cost. The lease deposit is only the beginning. Walls may have to move. Floors must tolerate dropped weights. Electrical capacity, ventilation, plumbing, showers, sound control, lighting, access systems, cameras, lockers, and signs consume capital before the first member arrives. Cardio machines, strength equipment, free weights, racks, benches, functional training areas, and studio gear add another large check. Pre-opening payroll permits professional fees, software, insurance, launch, marketing, and working capital complete the bill. Construction delay is especially dangerous because it creates a period when money leaves but memberships cannot begin. Rent may start before the doors open, interest can accrue during the build, equipment deposits become due on a schedule that does not care whether the fire inspector has approved the space. A 3-month delay is not just 3 months without profit, it can be 3 months of negative cash flow at the exact moment reserves are already shrinking. Most first-time owners do not fund the entire project with cash. Equity may cover part of the build, while a bank loan and SBA-backed loan, equipment financing, or a landlord improvement allowance covers the rest. A franchise system may introduce lenders, but the lender still decides whether to lend, and the borrower remains responsible. Equipment leasing reduces the check on day one, although it creates another fixed monthly obligation. A landlord contribution can help with construction, but it is often recovered through the rent and lease term. Debt changes the definition of success. Without borrowing a club that produces $300,000 after operating expenses may look healthy. Add $220,000 of annual loan payments and required equipment replacement, and the cash left for the owner becomes thin. If the founder also works as general manager, part of what appears to be profit is really compensation for a full-time job. Separating manager salary from return on invested capital is essential. The ramp makes financing even harder. Membership rarely appears fully formed on opening day. Pre-sales help, especially for a known brand, but a new club may need months or years to reach a stable base. Lifetime, which operates large, premium athletic country clubs, told investors that its new centers have historically taken 3 to 4 years to reach expected performance. A neighborhood gym may ramp faster, but the principle is the same. Mature club economics cannot safely be applied to month 1. Once open, monthly dues form the foundation. They are attractive because thousands of small payments arrive automatically and predictably. Enrollment fees, or annual facility fees, create a second layer. Personal training and small group coaching can become a third, often producing far more revenue per engaged member than access alone. Group classes, specialty programs, youth training, swim lessons, or sports coaching add another layer, where the facility supports them. The list continues, but only when the services fit the customer. Drinks, supplements, apparel, lockers, towel service, recovery equipment, childcare, spa treatments, day passes, and guest privileges can all contribute. Corporate wellness agreements and insurer-sponsored fitness programs may deliver groups of members rather than one sale at a time. Space can sometimes be rented to independent therapists or coaches. A digital app can sell remote programming or keep a member connected between visits. More revenue streams do not automatically create a better club. Each one adds labor, inventory, equipment, scheduling, regulation, or management attention. Smoothies have a gross margin until spoilage, staffing, and food compliance arrive. Childcare may increase family retention, but it also creates supervision costs and serious liability. Personal training can carry attractive economics, yet the gym must recruit coaches, generate leads, manage commissions, and prevent the trainer-client relationship from walking to another facility. Lifetime offers a useful view of the premium version. In 2025, 71.1% of its center revenue came from membership dues and enrollment fees, while 28.9% came from services inside the centers. Those services include personal training, aquatics, children's programs, cafes, spas, and court sports. The company reported more than 220,000 personal training sessions per month during the year. That mix shows why the premium gym is not just charging more for the same treadmill. It is using the membership to bring a household into a larger internal marketplace. Costs move differently from revenue. Merchant fees and trainer commissions rise when sales rise. Towels, laundry cleaning supplies, and equipment wear respond partly to visits. Most of the cost base, however, is stubborn. Rent and common area charges arrive every month. Managers, front desk coverage, cleaning, security software, insurance, internet, and minimum staffing remain necessary even during a slow week. Heating, cooling, ventilation, hot water, pools, saunas, and lighting make utilities meaningful. Machines break, upholstery tears, cables wear, and members notice immediately when repairs are delayed. Equipment also has an economic life shorter than its physical life. A treadmill may still run after years of use, but an aging floor can make the entire club feel obsolete beside a new competitor. Franchisees can face mandatory refresh cycles. Planet Fitness disclosed in its 2025 annual report that its franchisees are required to purchase branded equipment from the company or approved vendors and replace it every 5 to 9 years. That protects consistency for the brand and members. For the local owner, it also means a future capital bill is built into the model. Peak time creates the strangest operating problem. At 2 in the afternoon, the club may appear overbuilt. At 6 in the evening, every bench can be occupied. Selling more memberships improves revenue until crowding damages the experience that keeps those memberships alive. Adding equipment may not solve the problem if the building has no more floor space, parking lockers, or electrical capacity. Capacity must be measured by the bottleneck members actually feel, not by the number printed on the fire certificate. This is the central trap the gym sells, a short-term promise to the customer using long-term commitments made by the owner. Customers want flexibility. The landlord wants years of rent. Members expect new equipment. The lender expects payments on the old equipment. Coaches can leave. The franchise agreement remains. A competitor can open nearby in a few months, but moving the club may require abandoning an expensive fit-out that has little value anywhere else. The landlord, therefore, holds more bargaining power than the collection of dumbbells suggests. Once flooring, showers, ventilation, and branding are installed, the space becomes highly specific. Near lease renewal, relocation is possible in theory and painful in practice. A poor renewal can absorb the margin. A forced move can interrupt memberships and require another build. Good operators negotiate options, exclusivity, signage, parking, construction periods, assignment rights, and limits on operating charges before the location becomes irreplaceable. Members hold power in a different way. They can compare price, equipment crowding, cleanliness, and cancellation terms almost instantly. Many jurisdictions regulate automatic renewals, cooling off periods, prepaid dues, and methods of cancellation. Planet Fitness warned investors that state and provincial rules can require specific cancellation mechanisms and notices. The federal click-to-cancel rule proposed by the Federal Trade Commission was voided by a court in July 2025, but state requirements and enforcement attention remain. Building profit around customers failing to cancel is not the same as building loyalty. Consider a simplified one-year model for an independent mid-market gym. These are rounded assumptions, not an industry forecast. Suppose the project costs $1.8 million to open. The owner contributes $630,000 and borrows $1.17 million. Once mature, the gym averages 2,500 recurring members paying $45 a month, producing $1.35 million in annual dues. Personal and small group training contributes $280,000. Enrollment and annual facility fees add $140,000. Drinks, retail, day passes, corporate programs, and other services contribute another $130,000. Total revenue reaches $1.9 million. Rent and common area costs consume $330,000. Payroll and contractor compensation take $520,000. Utilities, cleaning, and repairs require $210,000. Marketing, insurance, payment, processing, and software use another $210,000. Supplies and other operating expenses absorb $100,000. That leaves about $530,000 before interest, taxes, depreciation, and owner-specific adjustments. The number sounds impressive until capital is included. Allow $120,000 for ongoing equipment replacement and facility reinvestment. Then, roughly $180,000 for annual debt service under the assumed financing. About $230,000 of pre-tax cash remains. If a market rate general manager was not included in payroll because the owner performs that job, the true investment return is lower than the bank balance suggests. Now create a bad year. Membership falls 20% after a competitor opens, and local employers reduce hiring. Discounting lowers the average dues collected, while training and other in-club spending falls by roughly one-third. Revenue drops from $1.9 million to about $1.4 million. The club cuts advertising class hours and some variable labor, but rent management coverage, core utilities, insurance, and most maintenance remain. Operating costs decline only to around $1.27 million, leaving approximately $130,000 before debt and reinvestment. Even if maintenance spending is reduced to $80,000, the assumed $180,000 of debt service does not move. Cash flow becomes negative by roughly $130,000. Cutting maintenance further protects cash today and weakens retention tomorrow. Raising prices may restore revenue or accelerate cancellations. The owner no longer chooses between profit and growth. The choice is which part of the promise to break first. That mechanism became brutally visible in 2020. When 24-Hour Fitness entered Chapter 11 on June 15, it was not a tiny operator with an untested concept. Reporting at the time described roughly 445 clubs and about 3.4 million members. The pandemic forced locations to close, eliminating the physical access members were paying for, while rent debt and other obligations remained. The company planned to close 135 locations, nearly one-third of the portfolio, and arranged about $250 million of bankruptcy financing to support the restructuring and reopening. COVID-19 was an extraordinary shock, but the damage reveals an ordinary balance sheet weakness. Revenue could stop quickly. Real estate and financing commitments could not. By December 2020, a court had confirmed a plan that reduced approximately $1.2 billion of funded debt. The company emerged with a smaller footprint of nearly 300 clubs and a leaner capital structure. Bankruptcy did not prove that people no longer wanted gyms. It proved that a viable service can still be owned through an unviable financial structure. The weights retained physical value, the memberships retained potential value. The old claims on the cash flow had become too large for the changed reality. Planet Fitness shows a very different path to scale. At the end of 2025, the system reported approximately 20.8 million members across 2,896 clubs. Of those locations, 2,604 were franchisee-owned and 292 were corporate-owned. System-wide sales, meaning dues and annual fees billed across the network, reached $5.3 billion. Planet Fitness itself reported $1.3 billion of revenue because the franchisor does not record every franchisee membership dollar as its own revenue. It earns through royalties and fees, corporate clubs, and equipment sales. That distinction explains much of the strategy. Franchisees supply most of the local real estate and club capital. The parent company supplies the brand system, technology, marketing platform, standards, and equipment relationship. New members could buy a basic membership starting at $15 a month in 2025, while the higher-tier Black Card started at $24.99. By year-end, Black Card customers represented 66.5% of recurring members, and average monthly dues per member had risen to $19.51. The premium tier matters because it lifts average revenue without requiring a completely different building. Scale matters because a low monthly price needs a large membership base. Brand recognition reduces the burden of explaining the product. Electronic collection improves predictability. The company said roughly 87% of membership payments across corporate and franchise clubs were collected through direct bank debit. None of this makes an individual franchise automatic. The local owner still faces rent, labor, competition, debt, required reinvestment, and execution risk. Planet Fitness succeeds at the system level because the parts reinforce one another. A simple value promise attracts volume. The premium tier raises yield. Franchise capital expands the footprint, and the franchisor earns from several layers of the network. The machine is designed around density, rather than pretending that low price alone creates profit. The next phase of the industry is pushing operators in two directions at once. Budget clubs are refining floor plans toward what members use now. Planet Fitness said it reduced some cardio allocation and expanded strength functional training and stretching areas. Nearly 80% of its system had some version of the optimized format by the end of 2025. Premium operators are moving the other way, adding recovery personal training, Pilates, wellness, social events, and digital support to capture more spending from each relationship. In both cases, passive access is becoming less defensible. A cheap membership must feel useful enough to survive easier cancellation and intense competition. An expensive membership must produce an experience that cannot be replaced by a home workout or a basic facility. Apps, wearables, remote coaching, corporate programs, and insurer partnerships will not necessarily eliminate the physical gym. They will change who controls the customer relationship and how clearly the operator must prove value. For an owner, the important metrics are therefore not limited to total signups. WatchNet joins after cancellations, revenue per member visits by time of day, training attachment, payroll per visit, occupancy cost per square foot, repair time, customer acquisition cost, and cash collected rather than merely billed. Track mature clubs separately from new ones. Reserve for equipment before the replacement year arrives. Treat a January sales surge as seasonality until retention proves otherwise. This is an educational business model, not personal financial investment, legal, tax, or accounting advice. Actual costs, laws, lending terms, customer behavior, and operating results vary sharply by location and format, and they change over time. Anyone evaluating a real club would need current local permits, a reviewed lease, verified franchise disclosures where applicable, detailed market research, and a model tested against lower membership and higher costs. Owning a gym can produce recurring revenue, community, and a durable local brand. It can also lock capital into a specialized space, while customers remain free to walk away. The winning operator does more than buy equipment and sell motivation. The business survives by matching flexible demand to inflexible obligations, renewing the member relationship before the building and balance sheet consume it. So yes, you can fill a room with machines. Sign up 2,500 people and collect monthly dues from many who will never arrive at once. Just remember what you actually own. Not a room full of weights. A long-term promise financed by short-term decisions.